Discover the miraculous secrets of Job's incredible journey, God's transforming plan revealed. In the land of Uz, during the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, there lived a man named Job, renowned for his blamelessness and uprightness, one who feared God and shunned evil. Job was richly blessed with a large family, vast herds of livestock, and fields that yielded bountiful grain. His life was a living testament to divine favor, drawing admiration from all who witnessed his prosperity. Little did he know that a conversation in the heavenly realms would soon intertwine with the fabric of his earthly existence. Satan, the accuser, stood before God, disdainfully questioning Job's loyalty. "Does Job fear God for no reason?" he sneered, insinuating that Job's devotion was contingent upon the blessings he had received. This accusation ignited the celestial debate, setting in motion a series of events that would test Job's faith like never before. One fateful day, Job's world unraveled. A messenger arrived, breathless and pale, delivering devastating news: bandits had plundered his livestock. Barely absorbing the weight of this tragedy, another runner appeared, proclaiming that a gale had flattened the house where Job's beloved children gathered for a feast, tragically claiming their lives. Each piece of news pierced Job's heart like arrows of despair. However, amidst his profound grief and utter loss, his response astonished all: "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away, blessed be the name of the Lord." In that fragile moment of worship, Job exemplified unwavering faith. Days turned into weeks, and his anguish grew deeper, a chasm that threatened to swallow his spirit. Word of his plight reached his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, who journeyed from their distant homes, eager to comfort him. Yet, upon arriving, they found a man shrouded in ash and sorrow, with raw wounds that bore silent testimony to his suffering. They sat in silence for 7 days, the air heavy with despair, before unwittingly shifting their purpose from comfort to accusation, declaring Job to be guilty of sin in the face of his suffering. Why do the righteous suffer? Job grappled with the unfathomable mystery of his affliction. He yearned for understanding, for a mediator to intercede on his behalf. "If only I knew where I might find him, go to his dwelling place," he cried, his heart heavy with unanswered questions and despair. What divine purpose could lie behind such agony? The honor of his faith was now shrouded in deep spiritual tension. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the sun set over the dusty plains of Uz, Job sat in silence, stewing in his unending turmoil, his body covered in sores, a vivid image of his profound grief. Yet within that stillness, a stirring began to thrum within his very being, like a gentle whisper urging him to seek understanding. What secrets did God intend to reveal through his suffering? What glories lie hidden in the shadows of pain? Each unanswered question hung ominously in the air, shrouding the next chapters of Job's life in an irresistible divine mystery, a beckoning toward greater revelations yet to unfold. As Job sat upon the ash heap, the weight of his afflictions pressing down upon him, he sensed a shift in the atmosphere around him. His heart, though heavy with sorrow, dared to hope for answers. The accusations of his friends echoed in his mind like the distant roar of thunder, relentless and unyielding. In the midst of their words, Job felt a stirring of defiance rise within him. "Though he slay me, I will hope in him, I will surely defend my ways to his face," Job proclaimed boldly, a declaration of his unwavering resolve. Job 13 verse 15. Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, could not comprehend the depths of his anguish. They reasoned among themselves, debating the reason for his misfortunes. Eliphaz, the first to speak, drew upon his visions and experiences, asserting, "Blessed is the one whom God corrects, so do not despise the discipline of the Almighty. For he wounds, but he also binds up, he injures, but his hands also heal." Job 5 verses 17 to 18. But Job's heart yearned not for platitudes, but for the truth of his situation and the presence of his God, despair began to twist like a vine around Job's spirit. He raised his eyes to the heavens, longing to confront the Almighty. "If only I knew where I might find him," he lamented, "if only I could go to his dwelling." Job 23 verse 3. His yearning deepened into a labyrinth of questions. How could he be righteous yet suffer so profoundly? In the echoes of his desolation, he cried out, "God, are you hiding from me? Why do you not answer?" As the days wore on, the discourse between Job and his friends escalated. Bildad, in his fervor, emphasized traditional wisdom. Is God perverse? Does the Almighty pervert justice? Job 8 verse 3. Yet Job, weary of their hollow comforts, felt the sting of injustice in their words. "I know that my Redeemer lives," Job declared, his voice rising in the tumult of despair, "and that in the end, he will stand on the earth." Job 19 verse 25. This affirmation pierced through the darkness like a shaft of light, illuminating the depths of his turmoil with a glimmer of hope. Amid this chaotic dialogue, Job's heart was torn. He saw the shadows of doubt looming over him but chose to cling to his faith. "For I am convinced that nothing can separate us from the love of God," he whispered, echoing the ancient truths that had long sustained the faithful. It was in the crucible of affliction that Job's faith was forged, as unyielding as the finest gold. As he contemplated the mystery of his suffering, a flicker of understanding dawned in Job's heart. Not all questions would find immediate answers. He resolved to remain faithful, rooted in the belief that God's purposes would ultimately prevail. "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you," he prayed, yearning for a personal encounter with the divine. Job 42 verse 5. Then, as if summoned by the weight of his resolve, a still small voice began to permeate the silence around him. The heavens seemed to tremble and shift, heralding an encounter that would change everything. As the clouds gathered, a storm was brewing, not merely in the skies, but in the heart of Job himself, for in the heart of his tribulation, God was preparing to unveil his sovereign plan, one that would reveal deeper mysteries, interrogate human understanding, and ultimately shift the axis of Job's faith. And so, with the clouds overhead and hope surging in his breast, Job awaited the voice of God, for he was poised on the brink of revelation. What would the Creator of the universe say to his faithful servant amidst the ashes of despair? The answers lay just beyond the horizon, shimmering with divine promise. As the first drops of rain began to fall from the gathering clouds, Job's heart raced, for he knew that the time had come for the Almighty to speak. The air was thick with anticipation, and a holy hush enveloped the ash heap where he sat. It was in this moment of stillness that Job felt a profound yearning within him, a spirit wrestling against doubt and despair. Then, in the midst of the thunderclaps, the voice of God thundered forth from the whirlwind. "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge?" The Lord proclaimed, his voice reverberating through the very marrow of Job's bones. Job 38 verse 2. Job trembled yet yearned to respond, for he felt himself standing on the threshold of divine revelation. "Lord, I am but dust and ashes. I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know," Job exclaimed, feeling the weight of his limitations in the presence of the divine. Job 42 verse 3. As the storm raged about him, he realized how deep the mysteries of God's ways truly ran. "Please, teach me, for I desire to learn from you," he implored, sensing the sanctity of the moment. Then, God began to unravel the fabric of creation before Job's eyes. "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand." Job 38 verse 4. Each question posed by the Creator pierced through Job's heart, illuminating his understanding of divine sovereignty. The vastness of space, the strength of the mountains, and the intricate details of the creatures of the deep were laid bare for Job. "Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth? Have you ever given orders to the morning, or shown the dawn its place?" Job 38 verses 8 and 12. As God spoke, Job's mind swirled with awe, understanding his mere mortal status against the backdrop of God's infinite wisdom. Each word echoed a fundamental truth: the Creator alone was the master of all that existed, and his plans were far beyond human comprehension. Job began to recognize that his own anguish, the questions which had tormented him, were but the ripple effects of a far greater narrative woven by an omnipotent hand. He saw, in that moment, that God's ways were higher than his own, understanding that divine justice was not confined to human expectation. Job felt hope rekindled within him, a buoyant flame ignited by the realization of God's overarching purpose. "Indeed, you are too magnificent for me to grasp," he said, his voice now a whisper, overwhelmed by the majestic revelation of his Creator. "I will place my hand over my mouth. I have spoken once, but I will not answer twice because I am but a servant." Job 40 verses 4-5, as God continued to reveal his glories through questions that challenged the very essence of Job's understanding, the clarity of his divine plan began to unfold like the dawn illuminating the darkness. "Will you discredit my justice? Will you condemn me to justify yourself?" Job 40 verse 8, these probing inquiries pierced Job's soul, stirring a deep reflection, igniting a transformative humility in his heart. That in that sacred communion, Job's spirit began to settle. He understood that the struggle of his earthly existence was part of a deeper story, one in which God's love and justice were inseparable. Amidst the whirlwind of life's trials, there was divine purpose woven into every thread of hardship, and as the storms began to subside, there was a promise that echoed in the distance, a whisper of God's continuing plan. "For I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29 verse 11, in Job's heart, hope blossomed anew, fueling his journey forward. Little did Job know that the re-establishment of his faith would not only restore his fortunes but would weave a legacy through the ages, a testament to the unwavering grace of God amidst human suffering. And thus, with eyes wide open to the vastness of divine mystery, Job awaited further revelations into the depths of God's sovereign plan. What revelations would yet be unveiled? What new chapters awaited this servant of the Lord? Then the Lord continued to speak, his voice like rolling thunder yet softened by the deep love coursing through every word. "Brace yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me." Job 40 verse 7, as the tempest swirled around him, Job's heart quickened, for he felt the weight of the Almighty's sovereign inquiries pressing upon him, drawing him deeper into the mystery of divine providence. Do you have an arm like God's, and can your voice thunder like his? Job 40 verse 9, the majesty of these questions unfurled before Job, casting light upon his own frailty. Then adorn yourself with glory and splendor, and clothe yourself in honor and majesty. Job 40 verse 10, each challenge spoke to Job's innermost doubts and fears, prompting him to reflect upon the essence of true strength and authority. Job remained silent, for he knew he could not answer such queries. In this powerful moment, realization dawned upon him. His suffering, his lamentations, were nothing before the vastness of God's creation. "I know that you can do all things, no purpose of yours can be thwarted." Job 42 verse 2, with renewed conviction, Job acknowledged to the Lord, embracing the mighty truth of his omnipotence. The skies above began to clear as God continued his revelations. "Look at Behemoth, which I made along with you and feeds on grass like an ox." Job 40 verse 15, the Lord painted vivid images of his creatures, where Job saw the splendor of creation filtered through the lens of God's love and intention. "What strength it has in its loins! What power in the muscles of its belly!" Job 40 verse 16, as Job beheld the majestic animals crafted by God's hand, he recognized that even the largest of creations bowed under the sovereign will of their Creator. Who can capture it by the eye, or trap it and pierce its nose? Job 40 verse 24, God's rhetorical questions exposed the limits of human understanding, revealing the intricate balance of life that eluded Job's comprehension. Yet within this divine tapestry, Job felt a rush of strength as he embraced the profound reality that there was order in chaos. As the storm settled and tranquility brushed across the land, Job's heart was comforted by a divine assurance. Shall a fault-finder contend with the Almighty? Job 40 verse 2, in this moment, Job's spirit soared, recognizing his own lamentations as steps toward deeper faith. A profound humility enveloped him, along with a sense of unity with the Creator who crafted the cosmos. Adventure awaited, not just for Job, but for all who witnessed this apparent turning point. The whispers of God's greater plan loomed in the air. As the wind subsided and the clouds moved away, the Lord's final question came forth, ringing with a weighty promise: will you trust in my ways even when the path is unseen? The echo of that question lingered like a sacred melody, leaving Job and those around him in rapt attention. Little did they know that through this dialogue, a restoration was not merely on the horizon, it awaited, hidden within a tapestry of faith and grace that would transcend the boundaries of time. For I have written your story in my heart, said the Lord, and what you will become is part of the eternal narrative. What transformations awaited this faithful servant? What legacies would unfold through trials illuminated by God's glory? Thus, the unfolding journey of Job beckoned on, both to him and to the generations who would walk in faith to come. And the Lord spoke again, his voice resonating like the deepest echoes of the mountain, invoking a sense of reverence. Will you indeed annul my judgment? Will you condemn me that you may be justified? Job 40 verse 8. The piercing nature of the query sank into Job's heart, urging him to contemplate the depth of his own heart and the weight of his words. As the ground beneath him seemed to tremble at God's profound proclamation, Job's mind grappled with the burgeoning realization that he was but a whisper amidst the symphony of divine orchestration. You have said, my righteousness is more than God's. Job 35 verse 2. And as these words flowed from the Almighty's lips, Job recognized the arrogance that had crept into his spirit. With a humble heart, he fell to his knees, sensing an overwhelming conviction wash over him, revealing the futility of his mortal understanding. I am unworthy. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. Job 40 verse 4. Silence enveloped him, heavy with humility, yet in that silence, a profound peace began to stir. The Lord, in his infinite wisdom, spoke once more. Look at Leviathan, the creature of the deep that I have made. Job 41 verse 1, as the Lord unveiled this fearsome beast, a creature forged in the fires of creation, Job found himself mesmerized by its power and ferocity. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Job 41 verse 13, each question hung in the air like droplets of rain upon parched earth, filling Job with awe and wonder at the majesty woven into every aspect of creation. Yet, amidst the vivid depictions, Job could feel a stirring within. Let me see your strength, Lord, and reveal to me the purpose in my pain. His desire to grasp the mind of God ignited a flicker of hope within the desolation of his trials. He envisioned the power of God both as creator and sustainer, realizing that even the fiercest leviathans bend beneath his might. Is it by your wisdom that the hawk soars and spreads its wings toward the south? Job 39 verse 26, the Lord's inquiry urged Job to observe creation's majesty and the meticulous care of providence in each creature's existence. Job pictured the hawk, gliding effortlessly through the air, led by instincts set forth by the one who knows all. Job's heart swelled as he began to catch glimpses of a greater truth. I know that your thoughts are not my thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. Isaiah 55 verse 8, with every breath, he aligned himself further with the divine purpose unfolding before him. Then came a moment of revelation as the Lord declared, it is time for my plan to unfold. What you consider struggle is but a chapter in the grander narrative. Your faith will not only sustain you, it will serve as a beacon for those who walk in darkness. Job's eyes widened with the realization that his story was not solely his own, it was woven into the fabric of God's perpetual story of redemption. For out of this suffering, I will bring forth blessings that endure beyond the ages, proclaimed the Lord, hinting at a restoration that transcended the tangible. Thus, Job found himself not merely an observer of God's awesomeness but an integral part of the mighty tapestry being released throughout future generations. In his heart, he knew that the answer to the whispers of purpose was coming ever nearer, and with it, a destiny bathed in divine glory. With the weight of God's sovereign will ever present, a sacred mystery lingered in the air, for all who seek me will find that their suffering is the crucible through which my eternal promises shall be revealed. Job's journey was but the dawn of understanding, presaging the unfolding of an incredible testament of faith, not just for him, but for all who would come after. What awaited in the subsequent chapters? The essence of God's redemptive plan was yet to be fully revealed. Then the Lord continued, his voice a cascade of authority and grace. Stand up like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Job 40 verse 7, Job, still trembling in the face of divine majesty, reflected on the unfathomable nature of the Almighty's inquiries, for what creature could dare to challenge the Creator? What words can I utter to explain my anguish? Job thought, feeling the weight of the universe condensed into his small frame. He sensed the Lord's presence was a circle of light, illuminating the darkest corners of his heart, and yet daunting still. I am but dust and ashes. Genesis 18 verse 27, with divine purpose punctuating the air, the Lord spoke forth, understand the wonders of my handiwork. Who can daunt the dominion of beasts if I am not their master? In that moment, Job was drawn deeper into consideration of the world around him, the wild beasts that roamed the earth, the fierce storms that swept through valleys and hills, all under the watchful eye of God. Do you know the time when the mountain goats give birth? Do you observe the calving of the does? Job 39 verse 1, each question swept over Job like the tides of an ocean, pulling him into a vast comprehension beyond his pain, into the rhythms of creation that aligned with God's perfect timing. Job saw the lioness hunger, the raven's call, he began to grasp the intricate weave of life and death, light and dark, despair and hope. In this divine discourse, Job felt compelled to respond. My Lord, your wisdom is boundless, and I am unfit to critique even a portion of your creation. Forgive me my hubris. With a heart now softened by humility, he longed yet for understanding. What is the purpose of my suffering, Lord? Convey to me the depths of these trials. The Lord, knowing Job's heart, answered with prophetic vision. Your afflictions are but a shadow of the trials to come, a glimpse into the future where many will come to know my righteousness through your steadfastness. For I will arise at the appointed time to deliver not only you but countless generations that follow. Job, enveloped by the depth of this assurance, felt a stir of hope blossoming within him like flowers in springtime. Yet, God, how shall I endure this pain? The answer echoed through the stillness, my grace is sufficient for you, and in your weakness, my strength is made perfect. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, as Job comprehended the weight of this truth, he knew that in surrendering to God's perfect will, he participated in a divine exchange. The agony of his trials transformed into a testament of faith that would fortify others. Through the course of his anguish, God's plan unfurled tenderly before him, the plan of redemption where Job's struggles would echo throughout the ages, paving the way for a new covenant of grace that would be established and fulfilled in Christ. With every breath, anticipation imbued Job's spirit. Light began to dawn on him, illuminating his path forward. In my despair, there lies a purpose beyond what I can see, a divine narrative of salvation invested in my suffering. And the Lord concluded, hold fast to your faith, for it will be like a lighthouse in a storm, shining for the weary and lost. You shall witness the unfolding of my promises, for a great work is being born from your trials and tribulations. Thus, amidst the chorus of celestial hosts, a mystery lingered. What greater revelation would emerge as God's sovereign plan unfolded through Job's trials, and how would his faith pave the way for a legacy never thought possible? Then the Lord spoke out of the whirlwind, his voice resonating like thunder across the heavens. Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like his? Job 40 verse 9, the majesty of God's inquiry overshadowed Job, whose heart quickened with both fear and reverence. Upon feeling the gravity of divine authority, Job's mind swirled with the truths he had learned, yet the depths of his anguish begged more than mere understanding. Who am I, O Lord? Job whispered, recognizing the frailty of his human spirit before the Almighty. I have spoken of things I do not understand, too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Job 42 verse 3, the dawn of realization lit his spirit, the realization that God's plans encompassed far more than he could fathom. Now prepare yourself like a man, the Lord continued, and I shall ask you another question. Answer me. With a calm yet fierce intensity, God led Job to contemplate the majesty of his creation. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Job 38 verse 4, in response, Job felt the weight of silence envelop him. The vastness of the universe, the intricate tapestry of creation, pulled him into a reflection so deep that words escaped him, and all he could do was bow his head before the Creator. I have spoken once, I will not answer, yes, twice, but I will proceed no further. Job 40 verse 5, the Lord, knowing the struggle that coursed through Job's heart, revealed more of his nature. The crocodile, which I made along with you, eats grass like an ox. Do you think you can catch him by hook or snare him? Job 40 verses 15 to 17, with this question, Job recognized that even the mightiest creatures bow to the will of their Creator, and he pondered the fathomless mystery of God's dominion over all things, even in the midst of great suffering. In your grief, do not forget the majesty of my creation, the Lord encouraged. You are woven into the very fabric of this world, and your anguish has meaning in my eternal plan. The realization started to spark a flicker of hope within Job's weary soul, transforming his understanding of suffering into a tapestry threaded with purpose and strength. As the sky turned from stormy gray to a soft twilight, the Lord reminded Job of the beauty found even in sorrow. My purposes stand firm, your trials have ignited a path of understanding for countless souls to come. In your suffering, they shall find strength. Your story shall echo through history as a testament to those who endure. Job's heart began to awaken to the divine promise, as if an unseen hand lifted him from the mire of despair toward a horizon of light. Yet, O Lord, how can this be? Job questioned, the weight of his past still clinging to his spirit like fog. Trust in the unseen, the Lord replied gently. Countless hearts will be drawn to my love because of your faithfulness. You are called to walk in the tension of the now and the not yet, a living witness to the hope that will be fulfilled in due time. As the final rays of sun dipped below the horizon, a mystery lingered in the air, a question yet uncovered in Job's heart. What greater revelation awaited him, and how would his unwavering faith carve a path in God's redemptive story, rippling across generations yet to come? Then the Lord continued to speak, his voice a soothing balm amidst the tempest. Have you ever commanded the morning, O Job? Have you ever set the dawn in its place? Job 38 verse 12, each phrase cut through Job's spirit, both terrifying and awe-inspiring, as he began to grasp the vastness of God's sovereignty over creation. Indeed, who can possess such authority? Job thought, pondering the magnitude of the Lord's wisdom. I am but a mere mortal, made from dust, and yet you breathe life into my soul. The Lord's words reverberated within him, igniting a yearning for understanding that transcended his pain. Do you know the extent of the Leviathan, whom I have made? The Lord challenged further. No man can tame him, he is a creature revered by the mighty and feared by the sea. Job 41 verses 1 to 2, the wild imagery filled Job's mind with the awe of God's majesty, reminding him of the natural world, untamed and magnificent, yet under divine command. He felt a flicker of strength as he reflected on the creatures made by God's hand, marveling at their existence. With each inquiry, God deepened the lessons imprinted upon Job's heart. In the expanse of the earth, can you fathom how I give sustenance to the ravens? When they cry out, I hear them. Job 38 verse 41, the unwavering care of God for even the smallest of his creation began to reshape Job's perspective. O Lord, he exclaimed, his voice quivering, if you attend to the needs of the birds, how much more do you care for me? Indeed, Job, the Lord affirmed, his tone softening like the gentle whisper after a storm. Your suffering has purpose, for in lament, you are drawn closer to my heart. I gather the tears of the sorrowful and weave them into my divine narrative. The imagery of being woven into a greater work seemed to shimmer before Job, instilling a profound hope and a new sense of identity even amid despair. Motivated by this understanding, Job summoned the courage to speak anew, emboldened by the reality of God's unfailing love. Lord, I have seen your wonders, I acknowledge my frailty before your greatness. But tell me, how do I embody this affliction to bring forth glory? And the Lord spoke once more, your journey is but a brushstroke in the grand canvas of eternity. Others will find hope in your story, for I shall redeem the notion of suffering through your unwavering faith. Each word from the Lord resonated deeply within Job, revealing the hidden treasures that often lie entangled with adversity. As the day faded into night, and the stars shone brightly above them, the Lord unveiled an even deeper revelation. when I restore your fortunes, you shall be a source of blessing to many. Job 42 verse 10, the promise shimmered like starlight. Job's restoration would echo throughout generations, a profound testament of faithfulness in trials and tribulations. Job trembled in assurance, seeing a glimpse of how God's hand was at work not only for himself but for the multitudes yet unborn. What can I do, O Lord, that my witness may shine as a beacon of hope? Walk steadfastly in faith, the Lord replied, for I, the Almighty, weave miracles in silence, orchestrating prosperity beyond your knowing. Your life shall be an everlasting reflection of my greatness. As dawn approached on the horizon, the anticipation of God's unfolding plan lingered in the air, a foreboding of glories yet to be revealed and stories yet to be told. What further mysteries lay hidden in the depths of Job's journey, and how would his testimony echo through the corridors of time, compelling hearts to seek the light even in darkness? Then the Lord spoke again, and his words were filled with a divine authority that encompassed the heavens and the earth. Stand up like a man, Job, I shall question you again, and you will answer me. Job 40 verse 7, the gravity of this moment enveloped Job as he felt the weight of God's call to a deeper understanding of his ways. Will you discredit my justice? Will you condemn me to justify yourself? Job 40 verse 8, a shiver ran through Job's soul. He understood the Lord's question was a challenge to his own heart. How could the clay question the potter? Job stilled his thoughts, recognizing the limited sight of his mortal frame against the expansive wisdom of the Almighty. Look at Behemoth, which I made along with you, God continued, his voice like rolling thunder. He feeds on grass like an ox. What strength he has in his loins! What power in the muscles of his belly! Job 40 verses 15 to 16, the grandeur of this creature, magnificent yet untamed, drove home the reality of God's creative power and majesty. With each revelation, a deeper layer of understanding formed within Job. Can anyone capture him by the eyes or trap him and pierce his nose? Job 40 verse 24, the imagery of Behemoth roamed through Job's mind, unveiling that even the fiercest of beasts lay vulnerable beneath God's watchful gaze. Job pondered the depths of his own suffering. Had he, in his pain, lost sight of the vastness of God's care and control? With trembling lips, Job replied, I am unworthy. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I have no answer. Twice, but I will say no more. Job 40 verses 4 to 5, in this moment of humility, Job found a sliver of peace. Recognition of his own limitations before God began a transformation within him, as sorrow gave way to a glittering hope grounded in faith, and the Lord, in his relentless love, spoke anew, unfolding greater mysteries. Listen now, and I will speak, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Job 40 verse 7, with each beckoning from God, Job felt the darkness of despair retreat, revealing a dawn filled with divine potential. Who gave the heart its understanding? Or who taught the hawk to soar high in the sky? Job 39 verse 26, in these words, Job began to perceive the sacred design of existence. The intricate fabric of creation was woven with purpose and woven with pain. He realized that God had orchestrated every detail, reminding him that the flight of a hawk or the strength of a mighty creature reflected a greater narrative at work. Tears streamed down Job's face as he understood the trials he faced were not for naught but became part of the tapestry of God's unfathomable plan. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord, he whispered, his heart echoing the depths of divine truth. Yet the Lord, knowing Job's heart still yearned for assurance, concluded with a declaration rich in promise. In your suffering, others shall see my glory, they will find strength through your endurance. I will turn your ashes into beauty, you shall be called a restorer of the breach. Isaiah 61 verse 3, Job's spirit soared with the hope of these words, understanding that his faithful testimony could illuminate the paths of many. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting brilliant colors upon the land, a sacred mystery hung in the air. The culmination of God's plan was drawing near, and the full measure of Job's restoration would reveal wonders beyond imagination, echoing through ages. What further miracles await in the chapters of Job's life, and how would the legacy of his faith inspire generations to trust in the Lord's abiding wisdom and mercy? And so, after the voice of the Almighty had echoed through the whirlwind, Job found himself enveloped in a profound stillness. Each question cast by the Lord had struck deep within his heart, unveiling truth that transcended the dimensions of his understanding. "I have heard of you, now, my eyes have seen you," Job declared humbly, awash in the revelation of God's sovereign grace, Job 42 verse 5. With trembling hands, Job accepted the mystery of his suffering as a vessel for greater truths, a tapestry wrought with divine purpose even in his lament. The remnants of bitterness began to lift, giving way to a deeper faith forged in the fires of tribulation. His spirit, once crushed beneath the weight of despair, now soared with a new understanding, that God's wisdom was woven infinitely into the fabric of time. Then the Lord spoke directly to Job, saying, "Because you have sought me amidst your trials, you have become a beacon of hope. Your story is not merely your own, it resonates through generations." Job's heart swelled with the understanding that his afflictions served as a guide for those who would traverse the dark valleys of despair in the years to come. Job's restoration was now at hand, for the Lord had observed the anguish of his faithful servant. "Now prepare yourself," God continued, "for a new season draws near." The earth trembled in anticipation, for divine blessings were soon to be unveiled. "You shall receive double for your trouble," the Lord promised, and Job's heart filled with hope as he understood that God's restorative plan was already in motion. Job 42 verse 10. In a display of God's unfathomable love and generosity, Job was blessed beyond measure. His herds multiplied, his household was replenished, and his daughters, famed for their beauty and virtue, were given an inheritance among their brothers, signifying the Lord's new covenant of grace. And in all the land, there were no women as beautiful as the daughters of Job, the scriptures remark, for God had lavished blessings upon his once broken life. Job 42 verse 15. The community around Job, having witnessed the tumult of his trials, now stood in awe of God's mercy. Friends and neighbors who had doubted were silenced, their hearts turned in reverence as they recognized the hand of the Lord orchestrating such restoration. Job became a testament to the truth that God could, and would, turn mourning into joy. With gratitude that poured forth like an unending stream, Job offered sacrifices to the Lord, praying for his friends who had spoken falsely against him. And God accepted Job's intercession, restoring not only Job but also blessing his companions who had stumbled in their understanding. The Lord restored Job's fortunes when he prayed for his friends, the scriptures declare, unveiling the prophecy of forgiveness woven through sincere prayer. Job 42 verse 10. Job lived on, receiving blessing upon blessing, living to see 4 generations of his lineage. His life became a legacy, an enduring reminder of unwavering faith, the beauty of restoration, and the strength found in divine mercy. "Through your suffering, others shall be inspired to seek me," the Lord whispered, etching his promises across the hearts of all who would listen. In the conclusion of Job's incredible journey, the eternal truth emerged, that even in the depths of anguish, divine love and purpose reigned supreme. Job's life was a living testimony of resilience, redemption, and the unchanging character of God. The heavens rejoiced as his purpose was fulfilled, his sovereignty glorified in the life of his servant. As we conclude this miraculous journey, let us remember the powerful testimony of Job. Lean into God's plans even in trials, there is purpose. Now, dear friend, if this story has impacted your faith, I urge you subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next powerful biblical stories. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to help share God's word with others through the algorithm. Comment your reflections below and let us hear how the story of Job has transformed your understanding of faith and perseverance. And don't wait even one more second, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's word and witness the transformative tales of faith that will resonate through the ages.